New York has a busier than usual events calendar in 2026, with World Cup festivities and celebrations for America's 250th birthday getting added to an already busy schedule. And helping oversee the day-to-day coordination of these activities and more will be Justin Brannan, a former New York City Council member who joined the Hochul administration this spring as a senior director of major event operations. And he joins us in the Capitol Press Room to discuss his new role and some of his work for this year. Thanks for making the time, Justin, and congrats on the new gig.
Right on, Dave. I've always been a fan of Capitol Press Room, so it's cool to join you.
I appreciate that. So I guess for starters, I'm curious, what exactly is your mandate? And is this a temporary position in light of some of the unusual events that are coming together this year? Or is this sort of a permanent party planning obligation?
Well, my wife and my mortgage certainly hope that it's a permanent position. But yeah, I was brought on because the governor very smartly wanted to make sure that the state of New York was taking full advantage of this once in a lifetime summer that we're about to have. And I'm honored that she tapped me to take care of that. There's a lot of moving pieces. But my job and my mission really is to ensure that from Brooklyn to Buffalo, the state of New York is going to enjoy the World Cup, make sure that we're taking full advantage of the economic opportunity that it's going to bring. But then moving on to America 250 and the many events that we're doing across the state to celebrate America's 250th birthday. So there are a lot of moving pieces. Everyone is congratulating me on having this fun job, and it's fun because I like solving problems and I like undoing knots. But it's a lot of hard work to make things fun, and to make things seem effortless. There is a small army of dedicated people in the state government side and our partners in the city and our partners in New Jersey who are working really around the clock to make sure that, number one, that this is safe, that this is a safe summer. And honestly, one of our focuses as well for the governor is especially is we want everyone to take advantage of the World Cup and have fun with America 250. But we also want to make sure that we're not inconveniencing anyone who doesn't care about the World Cup, right? I want to make sure that the guy that's just going to work, on the one of the match days, can get to work safely and get home to his family like he would any other day.
Sure.
So it's a lot of coordination, and a lot of working closely with a lot of our partners in Department of Homeland Security and emergency management, just so we're ready. We're ready for the summer. And obviously, I mean, look, we're trying to deliver a once in a lifetime summer against a backdrop of geopolitical uncertainty. So safety is number one, and that's why I'm here.
So how do you interject yourself into some of these events that have been, in some cases, years in the making, so that you're not just getting in the way, but that you are providing a benefit, that you're able to seamlessly offer some of the expertise or help that you can provide?
So I think, look, every day there's some new headline across the country, if not across the world, about, what FIFA is charging for this or that. And right now the governor is laser focused on her affordability agenda, like most smart Democrats are across the country.
Still the
So
politician. Nice.
well, it's true. I mean, look, you're talking about this once in a generation soccer tournament. But we also want to make sure that people can enjoy it who can't afford a ticket to the World Cup, myself included, right? So we want to make sure that how are we not only capturing all the economic activity, but that we're giving bars and restaurants and small business owners the tools and the opportunities they need to take advantage of the World Cup. Like, I think a lot about not just like my local soccer bar, but I think about the bars and restaurants who might not care about the World Cup necessarily or normally.
Right.
The reason why we maybe we'll talk about this SLA permit that we did. The reason why we're doing that is because we want everyone to take advantage of it. So even if it's a place that normally would not think to take advantage of this global sporting event, that we're giving them the tools they need to take advantage of it, and really to make it more affordable. So we're doing everything we can to present free fan fest across the city and across the state, so that folks look that you can only fit 80,000 people in MetLife. That means that about 1 million other people are going to be here in the city, not to mention just regular New Yorkers who are already here, who are going to want to celebrate and enjoy that experience, who are not going to be at MetLife Stadium.
Sure.
So we have to make sure that those opportunities exist for people to enjoy the experience for free.
Well, yeah, and you alluded to this. The governor has promoted the idea of one-day alcohol event permits related to World Cup games for off-premise viewing events. And
Right.
maybe this is something that you dealt with as a New York City council member, but the State Liquor Authority is not always the speediest agency when it comes to administering permits. So is that something where you're going to be stepping in to try to help encourage the smooth flow of permits, or connecting people with the State Liquor Authority who maybe haven't previously applied for or even thought about doing an off-premise viewing event?
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the reasons why the governor brought me on as an outer borough, a former Southern Brooklyn politician, we know how to undo knots and cut through red tape. Like that's where I thrive. That's where we thrive out here because we've had to fight for every crumb we've ever gotten from our government. So now being on the inside and understanding what it's like for small businesses to hear about something on TV and then to actually make the phone call to figure out how do I get that great offer I just heard about on television. That is also part of that service delivery that we're focused on. So, and the SLA, the 1 day permit that we did is precisely targeted at that because we're going to host some of the biggest World Cup games this summer, including the final, and we want everyone to be able to participate in it. So the special permits are going to allow small businesses to share in that the economic upside of that once in a generation summer, just making it easier for folks to apply for permits and allowing bars and restaurants to use their outdoor spaces to host events during the World Cup. So we're being very proactive with outreach around this, making sure that people know that these programs exist and assisting businesses wherever we can, so that they can take advantage of this stuff.
Well, before we move on, let me reintroduce you for listeners just joining us. I'm David Lombardo, and this is WCNY's The Capitol Press Room, and we're speaking with Justin Brannan, a former New York City council member who joined the Hochul administration this spring as Senior Director of Major Event Operations. There's been a lot of attention to what the New Jersey Public Transit is charging to get people to and from the events they're hosting. But in New York, there's obviously, as you pointed out, there's going to be an influx of people just trying to watch games in and around New York State. So is there any sort of increased demand for public transit that you're anticipating? And if so, what sort of groundwork has been laid to accommodate that increase?
Look, I think New York is what we do big things every day, right? We do big things for a living. I think it's what we're going to do over the next almost 40, we're like 40 days out here. So over the next 2 months or so, we're going to make sure that the MTA, that we're working with the MTA to communicate the increased service demand and the increased service that's going to be provided for New Yorkers. Going back to what I talked about, how we want to make sure that the guy that just has to go to work in Maspeth, Queens on the championship day is going to have an okay commute. So we're working closely with the MTA to make sure that they're expanding service where it's needed. And we'll communicate that over the next couple of weeks so that people know that we're ready and that we're thinking about everything. And I think a lot of this is about sort of showing your work, right? Like we're worrying about stuff that the average person might not even think to worry about. That's our job, right? To make sure that this experience is fun and safe. And we want to show that we've got the best public transit system in the world. And this is our time to show it off, to show off that 24-hour transit system, to make people see what it's like to spend a summer in the greatest city in the world, the greatest state in the world.
Well, this year, as I mentioned, is also the celebration of America's 250th birthday. And on this show, we previously talked about the role of the State Education Department and the Office of Parks in promoting various events. What's going to be your role? And is it primarily in, say, state-sponsored events, or are you working with more of the private side of things, which might have some real big major events in terms of the scope of them?
So a little bit of both. I mean, the big July 4th is going to be a incredible, extraordinary 24 hours in the city and the state of New York. The Sail Forth operation that's happening is going to include an international naval review as well as an international aerial review. So you're going to have 50 countries represented. You're going to have about 50 U.S. and foreign Navy vessels. You're going to have the tall ships out in the harbor. And then you're going to have an air show of like 125 aircraft led by the Blue Angels, all of this happening at the same time. Um, it's going to be wild. It's going to be like a real deal Muppet show, but actually very impressive. And I think people are going to be really in awe of the presentation. And our job is to make sure that all those those pieces are moving and are lubricated behind the scenes. And then July 4th ends with the obvious, the annual Macy's fireworks. There's two displays in the East River, and then there's an additional Jersey City display in the Hudson River. So it is going to be just an extraordinary 24 hours, and the amount of minutia and planning that has to go on to make this seem effortless is really really it's something. It's something, and but it's going to be great, and it's America's 250th birthday. We got to do it big. We got to do it right. So that's what we're doing.
So whether it's the July 4th celebrations or the World Cup games, do you have a sense of where you're going to be? Are you going to be in some sort of command post with like a headset and just a direct line to everybody around the
Yeah,
state? I mean, what's your role going to look like?
I think the people, when my family heard that I got this job, they probably assumed that I was going to be, sitting, sitting front row at the World Cup. I'll probably be in some underground bunker with the troopers drinking, bad coffee. But that's where I want to be because that's where the magic happens, right? I mean, I love the behind the scenes aspect of these roles. I've always been drawn to the moving pieces and stuff, the stuff that has to make it look good. I was a staffer, right? I started out as a staffer for my predecessor in the city council. I worked at the Department of Education. I love making things happen behind the scenes and making it seem effortless. But this is really an extraordinary summer, and we're ready for it.
So after the hullabaloo of the World Cup or the, say, July 4th celebrations, what do you think this job is going to look like? I mean, are we going to see you at the Belmont running in the future? Are you going to be at other things that pop up around the year? Because obviously these things are going to be big, but are there other things that you already have on your radar? The Knicks make it to the NBA Finals or something. I mean, what does this job look like when it's not the 250th anniversary of the country and we don't have the World Cup?
I don't want to jinx that we're already planning the ticker tape parade for the Knicks or the Buffalo Sabres. But look, I think right now my focus on delivering the best summer that for New Yorkers, and that includes not only the World Cup, but America 250 and whatever's to come, right? I mean, there's been talk about trying to bring the Olympics to New York. And there's never been,
Well, you,
and I
you have
think
some
part of
time
what
for that. I mean, that's what, 2042?
Bro, you'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised. I mean, you're gonna, if we were lucky enough to win the Olympics, it's gonna take about a decade of planning to pull
Sure.
that off. So, um, but look, there was never a role in the executive chamber of someone who, there's a million different brilliant people who work on all this stuff, but there was never a role where someone could really oversee and sort of coordinate and make sure that one side of the building was talking to the other side of the building
Mhm.
and putting all those moving pieces together. So I think as New York works hard to attract more global events, I think a role like mine is going to be important, whether it's me or whether it's the next person who takes this role. I think this role is going to be very important because having someone to tie together all those knots and smash down silos and make sure that people are talking to each other, I think is going to be very valuable with so many moving pieces.
And finally, are you finding that any of this is siloed? Are there connections that are not being made, whether it is the World Cup, whether it is 250, or just anything related to tourism more broadly? I mean, does anything stand out to you in particular?
Look, I think the thing that keeps me up at night is not the scary stuff. It's the diffusion of responsibility, right? Is making sure that everyone is communicating. That if someone sees a problem up ahead or someone wants to flag something, that they do it before while we still have time to fix it. That's the thing that I that I worry most about is just making sure that if someone is having trouble with something, that they're communicating that. And I'm not talking about necessarily on the state side. We're also working with New Jersey, right? I mean, the NJ Troopers are the lead agency for the World Cup, right, as far as security is concerned. So we're working with multiple administrations. The administration at City Hall is still new. The administration in New Jersey, the governor's office, is brand new as well. So making sure that we're connecting all those pieces. But no, I don't think there's been any silos that are concerning. I think New York we do big stuff for a living. This is what we do. So I think it's also about making sure that the outside hosts understand that we don't need to reinvent the wheel here, right? We're going to do it big. We can scale. We can do everything. Everything is scalable. But I found that you have a lot of people who are super excited to be a part of this historic summer. People who are excited to be working to make this happen behind the scenes. And it's been very cool. And I think, look, when you're in a bureaucracy, so when I was working at the DOE, I remember one time someone saying I was there under de Blasio when we were rolling out UPK for the first time. And I remember someone saying, "Oh my God, Justin, how did you pull that off?" And I'm like, I just got out off my desk and went upstairs and talked to the person. Like, so, in a bureaucracy like that, sometimes smashing down silos is just connecting the right people. And there's just a lot of dedicated, talented people on the state side who have been working on this for a very long time before I got here. So I'm learning from them too.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this conversation. We've been speaking with Justin Brannan. He is the Senior Director of Major Event Operations in the Hochul administration. Justin, thanks for making the time, and good luck this summer.
Right on. Thank you so much.
Support for the Capitol Press Room comes from O'Donnell and Associates, a public affairs firm providing strategic guidance to businesses and nonprofits on navigating policy and regulatory issues. More information is available at o'donnellsolutions.com.